Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and I'm back with another video for Out of the Park Baseball 22. Still not going to be a Let's Play series. Not quite ready to start one yet for a few reasons. First thing is, I'm recording this like the day after the opening day, and I typically like to wait until they release that patch for Out of the Park Baseball that has the final roster update for opening day. That's probably going to be sometime next week. So that's one reason. Another reason is timing isn't great. I'm going to be out of town, not able to post any videos through next week. And then third, and probably the biggest reason, I'm still debating which team to take on. And so what I did, though, I have played through. I started with the beta version and updated it to the latest patch. I did play through the full 2021 season, and I thought I would give a recap of that. Just go over some things that I found that were interesting about this season. I know that there was an official Out of the Park Baseball video on YouTube where they did their season predictions. I don't know how close mine matched to theirs. Actually, I don't think it matched at all. In terms of who actually won the World Series. But I did see some things that were interesting and maybe got a little bit of a look at the staff roles, the new feature there. I think, though, that's one of those features that's going to take multiple seasons before you really see the benefit, but I'm almost starting to wonder if that played into this Phillies season, and I'll just start off there. Really, I don't know quite how I did it, but I got this Phillies team into the playoffs. We were the wild card team in the National League, had the home field in that wild card, but lost a really tough game to Atlanta, 4-1. I'll look at the total standings here too in a minute, but I just want to talk a few things about this Phillies team. If you're thinking about using them as a team for your start of your career, or if you want to play through a season, see what you can do with them, I was really surprised at how this turned out. And you look at this team, and the first thing that I guess is evident is that the pitching is where the problem's going to be. And I don't know, if you look, going even further, if you look at our coach here, the pitching coach is listed as inexperienced, and he works best with finesse-type pitchers. I can't believe that he played a role, but long story short, pitching won for us. And it's really shocking to say that. Mainly, Zach Wheeler was the main guy. This guy, he was pitcher of the month twice. He made the All-Star team. He was a runner-up in Cy Young. He just had a very strong season. Numbers-wise, I can't figure this season out. It's been one of the more mystifying seasons I've ever seen playing this game. But you look at Zach Wheeler, for instance, and his numbers: 16 wins, a 2.93 ERA. 4 wins above replacement, pretty good. I mean, this guy is a 3-star player using, the star ratings. He does have 5 pitches that are average or above average. But, ratings-wise, saying nothing about his real-world abilities. Ratings-wise in this game, he comes across to me as above average, slightly above average in terms of the pitcher he is. Certainly not somebody who's going to just lead the staff, which is what he did this year. So I was really surprised by that. One thing to note, though, with that ERA, he had a FIP of 373. So almost, 0.8 difference? Again, mystifying, because this team really struggled fielding-wise. We don't really have, at the core positions outside of, say, catcher, which is, probably, I think you could argue that he's the best catcher in the game in Real Muto. But we don't have a strong defense. It's just, I don't know how we did it. But that's how we won, I'm sure, is through the pitching. Aaron Nola, all-star season, definitely rated to be just an ace of a staff. At times he was that ace, but he just had, a good year, but not a dominant year. Um, Matt Moore finished with 18 losses, but he had some key wins when we needed him. And then I think the big story, Vince Velasquez, who wound up being the pitcher of the month, I think in September. So down the stretch, when we needed, a shutdown guy, he was it. Again, just a total surprise. This guy's movement's terrible. His control is below average. He was coming off a long injury. He got 25 starts. But he just had, a great run there towards the end and helped us, I guess, close down the deal and make it the playoffs. But I think for another thing, too, I think you're going to have to, if you take this team on, you're really going to have to pay a lot of attention to the lineups and the pitching staff. But I think this is just proof that you can win with this team. I'm just kind of shocked. I figured we'd struggle to get to 500. Probably, I thought we'd probably finish below 500, honestly. This team is not, it's not loaded, for sure. Another thing to note, Spencer Howard, who I think is probably, I know in a previous playthrough with the Phillies, this guy turned out to be a really good pitcher for 3-4 years. I mean, all-star caliber. He got better. He finished with over 200 strikeouts. There is some upside with him to the point where I think he can, with Nola, Wheeler, that's a pretty good 1-3 going into next season. So, there is something to build, but the bullpen was just really depleted. If I were to look at the ratings, might even give you a better look at that. This was like 2.5 stars, 2 stars in some cases. Zach Eflin, I moved him from the starting rotation early into the bullpen. He didn't do that great. The bullpen is really not that good. Didn't have a real closer when I started with the team. The only move I made, again, this is just how odd this seems to me. The only move I really made this season, and it helped, I'm not going to say it didn't, but Pierce Johnson was a guy I picked up from San Diego. I'm thinking they just didn't have room for him, and they had him signed for $3 million next year. Maybe that was more than they wanted to give to a middle reliever. I'm not sure why the AI was even trying to sell him. He had good numbers, but I put this guy in as a closer, and he was really solid down the stretch, second half of the season, 16 saves, 1.53 ERA, almost 2 wins above replacement after we picked him up, which is really good for a reliever. Finished almost 3 wins above replacement. Got some votes for reliever of the year. This guy was not on my radar, but now he's solid enough that I think he's going to be a good addition. But he was it. He was the only addition I made to this team. On the lineup side, Realmuto had a good season offensively. He was Gold Glove was the only award that he won. He did make the All-Star team. He is really valuable right now. I think I mentioned in that last episode, I don't know if he's going to hold that value through his career, but boy, he really had a good 2021. Outside of him, it was hit or miss. I mean, Hazley wasn't a pickup, but I did play him a lot when he came off injured reserve. He got some starts, and it was late in the season when he became available. I've had some good luck with Hazley before. I think he's rated as a left-handed bat in particular. He's rated really good, and I know previous playthroughs I've gotten some good results from him. He helped out. But man, the starting lineup, Harper was out for a month or so, was a 3 wins above replacement. Realmuto was the only starter on the offensive side to finish above 4 wins above replacement, and that had a lot to do because of his defense. Hoskins was adequate, hit for a higher average than I was probably expecting. But I don't know. I think that was a pretty good year from him. He was injured a little bit too. Ops plus of 134. He draws enough walks that the strikeouts aren't as big a deal. But man, it's hard to believe with this team, Didi Gregorius, and all, an average year, I guess, for him offensively. Alec Bohm didn't really light it up like I was hoping he would do after his rookie season. He was steady, but he's still got some issues for me on defense. If I look at his zone rating, it's -9 as a third baseman. I'd rather move him over to first, to be honest. And that's something that might happen with this team if you take him on in the future, because they do have a pretty decent prospect in AAA in Nick Maton, if I'm saying that right. He's a good defensive third baseman for sure, and he's got some pretty good power and eye and discipline. I think he might be the kind of guy who gets on base enough to offset a low average. He'll probably have some decent power, but I'd really like having his defense in there. But that's the way this season went. I'm really just a little shocked. I guess if I did anything, it was probably paying really extra attention to the lineups. I did a lot of platoon situations down there towards the second half of the season when I had a lot of players available, like Hazley coming off. I called up Janikowski, who was a guy that was pretty valuable as a utility outfielder. But if you look at the team's stats, it really was about the pitching again, and that was just something I really did not expect. Things like WAR 4th in the league, starters ERA 5th, and bullpen ERA, as bad as it was, 6th. I think that had a lot to do with me picking up Johnson. You look at what we did though in July and through October, just really racked up the wins there. We had a good month of May, but we came out of the start there not looking too good. But then it came together in the second half, and we were able to clinch that playoff spot against some pretty tough competition. But one other thing I'll look at here too, when it comes to the staff roles, we have good staff cohesion. Whether that makes a big difference or not, I guess it's something I guess you'll have to see over time. If, let's say, you have a year where that staff cohesion struggles, does it translate into a poor season on the field? That's the things you're going to have to determine, and that's why I'm looking forward to playing around with that. If it works well, I think it gives an added dimension to the game. Like going forward with this team, if I decided to keep playing with this Phillies team, this is probably as good as it's going to be, right? To be this high. So what's going to happen when it starts trailing off or tailing off? If it does, will that really start to show up in the win-loss record? Still got some guys here I would like to upgrade, and if I were, playing this playthrough forward, that's probably one of the first things I do in the off season is get a better hitting coach. I might even see if the first and third base coaches, see what they're like on the market. That's something I haven't done yet, but I'm sure I'm going to have a hard time duplicating this cohesion here when I start picking up some new coaches. So that might be, that's going to be interesting still to me. I know I've seen some feedback on this, like in some of the forums where some people are still unsure how this is going to work. But I feel like it's going to take time, and if it works the way it should, you'll see it year to year when these things start, I guess, going up or down. You'll see how it's impacting. I think the biggest thing for me, what I would like to determine is that, let's say I get a great, excellent, say, hitting coach, but he doesn't get along with some of these other guys. and the cohesion goes down, how is that going to impact the team? That's the thing that you'll have to look for there. But for the first year, I'm pretty happy with what happened. Now, if I look at the standings in general, I don't know if there was any big surprises for me other than maybe the Yankees. I think a lot of people are still thinking they're going to be one of the teams to beat. Toronto too. When you think about Toronto picking up Springer and they got that young talent that they have, I was surprised that they didn't even finish above 500. I don't know if this was a case of injuries. I don't think so, but Ryu may have been out for a while. I think they're gonna have to upgrade pitching to really compete. But even in the offensive side, the big thing to note here, I think, Guerrero in last season's version of this game, man, this guy was just one of the best players. In one of the playthroughs I did, I think a Phillies playthrough I did, he wound up with something like 3,600 hits. He was, top 10 in a lot of categories when he retired. That was you factor how he, the hype around him when he came in and the way he's rated in this game. He's not putting up those numbers yet. Give him time. I mean, that's a great season, don't get me wrong, but it was still 3.8 wins above replacement. So it doesn't get him any notice for MVPs. I don't even think he finished top 10 there. So that was a surprise to see that. On the Yankees side, Garrett Cole really struggled. Look at that, 9-19, led the league in losses, 5.24 ERA. Not sure what's causing that other than maybe, a movement like that. It's going to usually lead to a lot of home runs, and it did. He gave up 37. But if I were to look at his FIP, which is something I really have started paying attention to in the last few years. Well, not the ratings. I'm assuming, 428. He has a FIP of 428, a point below his ERA. So, that's got to mean, to me, we'll see if it does mean that, but I would think that would translate into poor fielding behind him. So let's just see if that's the case. Zone rating, 14th in the American League, negative 37. That's terrible. That's really bad. I mean, that's even worse than the Phillies. So that's where this team struggled. Even Severino, 8 starts, great FIP for him. Oh, he only got 8 starts, small sample size. But that's probably one of the big things that hurt this Yankees team. Chapman had his typical, year, great year from him, really, 140 ERA, 38 saves. On the offensive side, LeMahieu was solid. Voit, this is that's why I really like waiting until they release those opening day rosters. But Voit got a chance to play in this one. He looked pretty good. I mean, an above average ops, considering he strikes out a lot. Good power. Torres had a good year there, 4.8 wins above replacement. But then you get down to Judge. He gives you good defense, I'm sure, but both him and Stanton, even though Stanton, 60 home runs, I guess you could live with that, right? But it's not the kind of player that I like to build a team around, to be honest. His ratings he's going to give you at this point home runs and I don't know what else. His fielding is adequate, but Aaron Judge should be a really good fielder. But his zone ratings in the positive, efficiency's good. But again, small sample size, just a season, I know. But I could easily see this team going this way. The defense, if the defense is not there, you're gonna have a lot of power, but I don't know how it's gonna help you. So that was interesting, I guess. Then you got Minnesota and Chicago. Chicago, they've got that big Jimenez injury to deal with. Now, I don't know if he was out by the time, because I did use the latest patch, so I don't know if he was out by that time. But Tim Anderson had a tremendous year for Chicago. Surprising. I think he's building off the last couple seasons. His ratings are high, his contact and power and everything. So he had a great offensive season. Pitching, Giolito, 19 wins, 284 strikeouts. He is looking to be like one of the best pitchers in the game right now, the way it's rated, or the way he's rated. And then they got Hendricks, who was solid as a reliever. I think he won the reliever of the year for 2021. They are, even Cease. Look at that number. I don't like his ratings that much, but man, he had a good season for that team. Looking further, Houston Angels made the wild card. That's pretty cool. And then in the National League, no surprise, Dodgers. Padres, probably a surprise there. 82 wins, they didn't make the playoffs. It might be why they were willing to give up Johnson for little. They gave him up to me for a prospect that probably isn't going to make the majors. But not the kind of year that they were looking to have, I'm sure. They may have had some injuries in this playthrough, like Clevenger. Yeah, he was gone early. I don't know if he's injured already. I don't know if he's dealing with that injury from last year or not, though, to be honest. That's something I'm not for sure about. Paddock, he was so-so. So these big, like Mackenzie Gore, they were really a disappointment, to be honest. Tatis, full season, I guess, for him here, but not much to speak of there offensively. Hosmer was, wow, look at that, 195. And they're still on the hook for this. He's got a player opt-out he's probably not going to use. Luckily, they loaded that contract up in the front end. But, San Diego, I know there's a lot of hype around them right now. And again, this is just one season. I know the sample size is small, but I do think a lot of things have to fall into place for this team to win. These pitching prospects have to really pan out. And you got to keep guys like Hosmer around, and you got to hope that they're productive. And Will Myers, too, 30 years old. What's his contract like? $20 million a year for these first two seasons. You got to hope that he stays productive as well. They could be a challenge. And again, one of the things I wanted to look at here was go over some options for my playthroughs, and I wouldn't rule them out, to be honest. And that's, you look at the front office, they've got a good budget, fourth in player payroll, but they don't have money to play around with. So if you can't win with this team, you're going to be in trouble, I think. And then another team here, St. Louis Cardinals, I think is interesting. Now, they are one of the most stable, I think, franchises from fan base, and typically their farm system in real life is pretty good. I think they're intriguing. One of my viewers even mentioned them as a possible option for my playthrough. I'm thinking it over because I haven't ever really thought about playing the Cardinals, but I still think they have enough of support unless the game just kind of turns, real in a different direction, and you get a new owner who's stingy or something like that. I mean, this team typically has a good budget, and it's really, I think, hard to lose long term with this team. Some of the things that they have going for him, though, like Tommy Edman, I think, even though he had an off year, I do like this guy. His ratings are just 3 stars overall right now, but I think he's a pretty good player. DeYoung, if that's how you say it right, I'm not sold on him, and I think they've got him to a long contract that's top heavy at the end. This team has some challenges. It really does. I don't know if they've got. Just looking at them right now, I don't know if they've got the prospects and the youth to offset Goldschmidt and Arenado as good as he's going to be. And I look at his line, and the first thing that stands out is that average to me anyway. He's going to be a good player overall, but you're going to have to accept that he's not going to hit 300 and above. I don't think year to year. I might be wrong. If he does, then it just shows how good a player he really is when he's got some, I guess, a good team behind him. But this could be a challenge. I think their pitching might be. One guy I didn't mention, Dylan Carlson, just had really, I think, a great year. Not only one of the best players, certainly one of the best rookies in the league. He was in the running for MVP. He was that good. So that they're kind of intriguing. But I wanted to just take it. I didn't really want to go in depth that much on the standings, but for me, when I'm thinking about the playthroughs, I do want a challenge. And so I've kind of narrowed it down to maybe a field of about 10. Now, one of the things that I like to do, I like to look at teams that are rebuilding or that have, that are struggling a little bit year over year. Some of the teams that fall into that category, obviously Baltimore, but everybody's doing Baltimore, it seems. That's one of the things that every year when the new version of Out of the Park comes out, you'll have a bunch of playthroughs on YouTube, and they're good. I'm not saying they're not. It's just that it's I don't want to compete with a bunch of other playthroughs with this team. I think that there's obviously some upside here, but one of the things that's not is this budget and playthrough or payroll. I mean, you're going to struggle with that, and you're rated with a below average fan loyalty, small market size. They're definitely going to be a challenge, but I'm not going to take them on just because of there's a lot of other players who are taking them on, and they'll probably do as good or better than I could do there. I think Detroit is always another team. They've got a mix of aging players here and not a whole lot of pitching. If you look at the front office, they're in the bottom third when it comes to payroll and almost to the bottom on budget. They're definitely a challenge. I think I've noticed at least one playthrough on them already out there. Oakland is one that's been mentioned. Oakland year to year is always going to be a challenge. And if you look at their front office, it's because of the budgeting usually, but they have a pretty decent player payroll using, the Out of the Park as a guide here. I mean, it's almost to the middle. Now, I don't know if that's true in real life, but they're not going to have a whole lot of money to play with. They've got some good younger players, but these guys, I think their window of opportunity is starting to shrink a little bit when you talk about Matt Chapman, 28 in this game. Great defender, and he had an awesome year. I don't expect him to have that kind of a year in real life, but he does. It's going to put him up there, I'm telling you. 47 home runs, led the league in RBIs. He's not typically going to hit for a high average, but if he does that, 248, I mean, that's a great offensive season from him. But I don't know how well their youth development is, and it's odd because they've usually had a good farm system year to year. They always come up with some really good young players. I don't know if that's currently the case with his team. So they're one team I'm thinking about, but I don't know yet if I'm going to pull the plug on them or pull the trigger on them. Another team that really I've been thinking of, and I've seen some playthroughs from them in the past. Seattle is intriguing because they've been so long out of the playoffs, and you remember like I think it was the early 2000s when they had some great players, obviously, and they had those great seasons, but just couldn't make it to the World Series. It would be nice to get this team to the World Series, but it's been 2001 when if you remember that 116 win season. It's the last time they made the playoffs, so it's intriguing to me. But I look at their front office; they don't have a whole lot of money to play with. But yeah, they're intriguing me. And matter of fact, they're intriguing me to the point where they're in my top three, which I'll give you before this episode's over. But they have, I think, a good mix of youth, like Kellenic. I don't know how good he's going to be. He's got great potential in this, the way he's rated in this game. Julio Rodriguez, another one, 5-star potential in this game. Kyle Lewis, yeah, he may have had an off year. His potential is not looking so great. Crawford, still young. I'm familiar with him with his Phillies years. He has some good enough ratings that I think, in fact, they even gave him an extension. The AI gave him an extension in this game. I think he could be serviceable for a few years. He's a good defender. They got Long and Trammell from Cincinnati, a couple big Cincinnati prospects previously. They've got some upside. I don't like this Evan White contract. I don't know if he's going to translate, even though he had a great season in AAA this year in this game. You look at the contract, that's risky. But maybe he'll play into that and become a starter. But yeah, this team intrigues me. On the pitching side, Marco Gonzalez didn't have a great season, and he's signed long term, but not for a lot of money. And Kikuchi, now he is a big signing, and his ratings aren't looking that great. But it's only for a couple seasons. Sheffield, a good, for the most part, a good prospect if you can get that control up. I mean, there's several reasons why I'm looking at this team as an option, and it would be fun to see what I could do with them. But another couple teams though that intrigue me, moving over to the National League. Everybody wants to do Miami. It seems, well, not necessarily Miami this year, but if you look at their budget, it's just they got the lowest budget. They've got so many problems. I don't know who would be the star in the making on this team. For me, I don't know much about him. I have seen Diaz, for instance, in the minors. He's a good player. I remember I saw him play in a minor league game, and he just owned that game. He was the best player on the field, really. But is he gonna develop into that? I don't know. On the pitching side, they got Alfaro there from the Phillies. Looks like he's a great defensive catcher, but he's probably not going to be that good offensively. And pitching side, Sixto Sanchez, good prospect there, but I just don't want to take on the Miami Marlins. I think they'll be fun and frustrating, maybe a little bit more than on the frustrating side. I've seen a lot of people pick up Pittsburgh. They're obviously going to be a lower market team year to year. I think they've got maybe some decent prospects. I know they have Hayes here is a good prospect offensively, third baseman, good defender. Adam Frazier, how young is he? He's getting up there. He's 29. But again, this is one of those teams that other players are doing on YouTube, so I'll probably stay away from that. But one team that's really got me thinking, and it kind of goes against the small market, but it's the San Francisco Giants team. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out in real life, but I know looking at this team right now in the front office, so they've got a budget that's right in the middle, but they're going to have one of the lowest payrolls in the league after that 2021 season. If you can weather that 2021 season, and you can see what it looks like here, what did they finish? 69 and 93, lower than the Rockies in this season. But the thing that gets me about San Francisco, look at these salaries. If you go to the salary screen, Posey, Cueto, Longoria, Belt, Crawford, all those contracts are coming off after 2021. So you've got $80 million there difference between 2021 going into 2022. So if you really want to be the kind of GM in this game who's active in free agency, this is a really good team, I think, to pick up right now. And I've said before, I really would rather develop the farm system, but it's just the chance to play around with that kind of money is, it's intriguing me. And I like, I've always liked San Francisco. I've had a chance to go to one of their games. I think they've got one of the best ballparks, and where it's located, it's really cool in the majors. So this one, it does intrigue me a little bit. And I don't know what I could do with them. I think it's a total rebuild with this team. I'm not aware of how their prospects are in game. If you look at the minor league system rankings, they are down there towards the bottom, and just a couple of prospects showing up there, and these guys, is a decent catcher, maybe Patrick Bailey, but I don't see anything there that's gonna really develop too quickly, looks like. So it would be a rebuilding situation, which I would like to get into when I do my playthroughs, but that one's the one that's getting me pretty intrigued. I wouldn't say I'm leaning towards them, but they're up there. So let me revisit that. I'm just going to do one other thing here before I end the episode out. I wanted to kind of show you too how the awards went. So if we go start out with relievers of the year, that went to Hendricks in the American League. I said from the White Sox, but Chapman had a good year. Colomé, Minnesota had a good year. Diaz, no surprise, got the nod in the National League. The Mets did have a good year, and the numbers that Diaz put up were close to that 2018 season, but Pierce Johnson did get second. He was runner-up there. This guy, great pickup. I don't know if when you're in your playthroughs, take a look at this guy because he's got great ratings in game. Silver Sluggers, I don't know if there's anything really too surprising there. I will say that Anthony Rendon had a great season. He's a 4.5-star player in this game, but he had a MVP. Just to do a little spoiler there, he was the MVP in the American League this year. He had a great overall season, kind of a surprise to me. And then in the National League, Horner got it. He's that prospect from Chicago in real life. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go in 2021, but he had a good season here. Good, really first full-time season. Looked good. You got several Braves got noticed throughout the year. Bellinger, who's just a beast, really, in this game, the way he's rated. On the rookie side, Andrew Vaughn got it from the Yankees. No, sorry, from the White Sox. I should know that, but he is another one of those prospects that makes Chicago really exciting right now. They're a good choice. But hey, Kellenic, if I'm saying that right, he was second. And then Christian, God, I don't know how to say this guy's name. Paquet. I'm not going to attempt it, but this guy's exciting as a player too. Previous playthrough I had going from last year's version, he had a great career. You got Hayes second. No Phillies, but I do remember this guy when I did my Cubs playthrough last year. He was a good prospect, and he had a good season here for the Cubs. Manager of the year, Baker for Houston, and Roberts for Los Angeles. Cy Young, Lance McCullers Jr. had a great season, 20 wins, led the league in wins, ERA, also led in walks. His control is not rated too high in this game. Giolito Puck, another reason, kind of, that makes me want to take a look at Oakland, but his stamina and his control really scare me about that guy. But those are, Bieber, another one you might recognize, but that was Cy Young. One thing I guess is surprising, not after looking at his numbers, but yeah, I mean, not seeing. I think everybody's thinking Cole is going to be the more dominant pitcher in the American League this year, but that didn't happen. Now going back to National League, it went to Walker Buehler, had a great year, but again, Zach Wheeler, runner-up. Aaron Nola got some votes. Kershaw had a good season here in this playthrough, or in this season. Stroman, I don't know how good he is in real life I don't know if he's going to put up those kind of numbers again, but he had a good year for New York. And then once again, Rendon. Anderson, runner-up. Arozarena was third. He did have a good year there. And then I can't believe Stanton really got fourth. But this game loves homers when it comes to the awards. And then in the National League, Acuna Jr. just had an incredible year, almost 10 wins above replacement. I think this is kind of the career he's going to have. I forget the final numbers he had on that Phillies playthrough I did from last year's version, but they were up there. But just thought I would do that, give you that look of the 2021 season that I had in between that my first look and getting ready for the playthroughs. But now when it comes to the playthroughs, I didn't want the episode to go too long, so hopefully you're still here. But when it does come to the playthroughs, I wouldn't mind getting some opinions. You can put them in the comments if you have any. I've narrowed it down to 3 teams. And these are really teams that I haven't, for the most part, outside of probably the Cardinals, I haven't had too much. San Francisco, even though I've been there, I haven't really followed them because they're a West Coast team. But those are the 3 choices I've got right here. Seattle, St. Louis Cardinals, and San Francisco Giants. That'll be the first playthrough I do anyway. But those are the 3 I've narrowed it down to. If you have any suggestions, if one of those teams might be your favorite, you want to see what I can do with them, let me know. I'm still deliberating, but I wouldn't mind having some opinions on it too. I don't really have a favorite right now between those 3. I think they all offer you something. Seattle, because I think it would be interesting to get this team into the playoffs and the World Series, right? And because they've never been in the World Series. I don't know if they're the only team now who's never been in the World Series, but I think it might be them at this point. If anybody knows for sure, you can, again, put in the comments or I'll research it offline. But that's the reason I'm thinking Seattle. St. Louis, because it was suggested and because it just as a team I've never even considered playing before. I think this is the kind of Cardinals team that does present some challenges. I mean, you've got a lot of the older guys that gave these Cardinals teams some success. When's the last time they were in the playoffs? Last year. I think, 2020. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team right away in 2021. They might get close. But the stretch that they had from 2000, say, to 2015, I think there's some room with where this team's situated. If you wanted to try and get them back to that level, you're going to have to put some time into it. So that's why I'm thinking the Cardinals. And then lastly, the Giants, because of that budget situation and the contract situation with all those big name guys leaving this season after the 2021 season. So let me know what you think. And if you have any other teams and a reason for it that I haven't thought about, put those in there too. But that's my top three for now. And hopefully after next week, I will start, when I get back into town, I'll start right away getting some playthroughs out there. I'll start with the whatever opening day rosters they release, and I think it starts right away at the season. You don't go through spring training, so I'll start right away with that season and play it on as long as I can. Usually the goal is to make it to the World Series and win. That's my goal of any playthrough, but it depends on how they turn out. It might be, with the Chicago Cubs when I wasn't really all that successful with them, and so I'm looking for a team I can really turn around, hopefully quick. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed this little rambling episode here. I will see you next time. Remember too, if you're interested in more sports management games, I've got some fairly long running series going on to do with Draft Day Sports College Basketball. That's a game I've really started enjoying. It's a fun, challenging game, and when you start winning, when everything starts falling into place, it's really fun. So if you want to check those playthroughs out, they're also on my channel. But in the meantime, I guess get ready for a full season of Out of the Park baseball, and I'll see you then. Thanks.